Welcome back, everyone. I'm joined with Ron Creel and Don Frano. Don, of course, we know from ADSB and the Facebook group. You're going to go ahead and give that a plug in a second. Ron is a new guest. Ron, thank you very much for coming on. I've been looking forward to this for quite some time. A man with your experience, with so much time at Kissimmee Airport in specific, but you've also got time with Civil Air Patrol. Just go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
Well, thank you for having me here. My name's Ron Creel. I'm a master pilot with the FAA. I've been flying since 1967, when I soloed. A little over 11,000 hours. All of it, everything except for the 1 hour is a jet time. Is not jet time. It's helicopters, airplanes, singles, twins, seaplane, getting ready to get into an Excalibur experimental aircraft that eventually will become amphibious. So looking forward to doing that next year. My basic career was medevac. I flew 20 years of medevac operations for Maryland State Police. That was the bulk of my flying. I picked up a little over 3,000 victims in my career, and we had an outstanding survival rate in Maryland. I came down here in 97, got involved at Kissimmee Airport in 2011 when I met a young lady who had an airplane. She eventually passed away from a massive heart attack, and through a series of events, I ended up getting 2241 Whiskey, the aircraft that I currently own. I have a co-owner, and we split the cost on it and split the flying on it and whatnot. But I've had that at Kissimmee Airport since 2011 is when she owned the airplane. She passed in 2013. Her husband sold me and my co-owner the airplane, so we've been based at Kissimmee with the airplane since 2013.
That's amazing. Sorry to hear about your friend.
Yes, it was one of those things. I think she had an inkling that she had a medical problem. She was just didn't want to take care of it and didn't want to be grounded. She loved flying, as I do and many others do. But when there's something wrong with you, you really need to get it checked out before it becomes worse.
I feel like that's kind of the consistent curse for pilots.
Pretty much.
You know,
I agree.
everybody gets scared about, should I go to the doctor? Should I not go to the doctor? Is this going to be the one that stops me from being allowed to fly? And I'm just like, it's better than not being here anymore. So that's
my
rough.
second love is teaching. I'm a flight instructor. I'm a CFI, II, MEI, seaplane instructor. What else? Helicopter, rotorcraft, instrument rotorcraft, II and rotorcraft as well. I fly a corporate helicopter for a company here based in Orlando. It's an Augusta 109.
Okay.
Six passenger aircraft. So we fly that periodically. Also involved with the flying club that we started in 2017. I've been with the flying club. And then I'm also a FAST team member. I do quarterly monthly meetings with the FAST team program with the FAA.
That's absolutely amazing. Thank you for everything you do.
Keep busy and everything, you know. Yeah. It's just a joy to fly.
So for both of you, obviously, let's pivot for the ADSB discussion. Okay, so both of you became involved with the fight, the issue, pretty early on, right? I mean, I covered this initially in August of last year, and I think maybe Kissimmee had only just popped up on the radar at that point because I know DeLand was going through theirs. But go ahead and you guys share it out and give the full story of what's going on and how you both became involved in it.
Yeah, well, my involvement actually started in a call with Ron. We were on a call one day, and he goes, I got wind that they're going to probably pass some landing fees, and there's a public hearing coming up for the city of Kissimmee. And so, of course, you know, we're concerned to hear about all this. And we went into the meeting, and as it started to unfold that there's a contract with this company called Vector, I started looking and seeing how this works and found out that Vector is not just charging landing fees, but they're doing it using ADSB. And immediately, red flags off in my head. This is an issue, right? Because ADSB, we all know, was intended for safety.
Right.
There's a pretty strong record to prove that its intention was just for safety and for airspace management. And now they're using this technology that we as pilots and aircraft owners had to invest in and now rely on to do billing. So it became a very large concern. And I know we're at the first meeting, and I ended up at the end of the meeting going to the airport director for Kissimmee, and I said, you do realize this is not going to resonate well with pilots. And the reasons that were cited for it was that there was a shortage on the operational funds that they need for the airport. And I told them, I said, you got a lot of really smart people on the field, and if you work with pilots, they'll come help you. Right. And we'd love to come alongside and help you solve this in a better way. And unfortunately, his response was, "I've been doing this for 31 years, and there's no better way." And it was dismissed. So that was the first meeting, and from there, I got interested and I guess you'd say maybe a little bit invested in it. Mm-hmm. But then we had some other meetings, and maybe you want to share, how it went. I think we ended up 3 meetings before the city passed it.
Yeah, the first time I became aware of it was we do a quarterly tenant meeting at the airport. The airport manager, operations, tower, they all get together, and pretty much all the tenants on the airport come down. So I first heard about the proposal for landing fees, and I was kind of surprised that not a lot of people objected to it. And then in September, it was September 17th was going to be the first city council meeting to hear of the landing fees. I reached out to quite a few pilots. I'm going to say somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 to 40 type numbers. And almost all of them that came there was very interesting. The airport director had a pretty good reputation on the airport. Most people liked him as a personable person. And I would say that almost bar none, every single person that spoke against landing fees spoke on behalf of the airport director, saying, hey, guy's done a good job for us. However, we're against the policy. We're against the landing fees. And we had tried to get the airport or the manager or the mayor and city council to at least create a airport advisory committee, which the airport manager is more of a dictator, and that'll never happen. That'll never happen. And so far, it has not happened. So consequently, we got involved with the ADSB. We were actually going to attack this on 3 fronts. I won't reveal the third, but the first was to try to get the city council to disapprove it, which they did not, unlike the other airports in the area that did disapprove it. The second step was, of course, try to get congressional approval, and that's the step we're at right now, with trying to get Congress to take some action to prohibit the release of private information to third-party vendors for billing for something that was designed for safety. And then there's another avenue that we're going to look at if we don't succeed with the FAA. There's another avenue to approach it with.
Right. And obviously, since Sun and Fun, you have, at Sun and Fun, you spoke with a fair few people, but Dan Milliken just released a video pretty recently, i.e. yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday.
And you're at 5,100 signatures on the petition now, correct?
Correct.
So everybody, please, if you get the opportunity or make the opportunity to go and sign it, it does matter. It does help. Politicians do like to see that people are interested in seeing this. So the more signatures, the better.
And if you don't mind, I'll just insert this. So the FAA did send a letter, obviously, to the FAA. I'll get it out. AOPA sent a letter to the FAA asking for them to stop the misuse of ADSB. Landing fee being one, frivolous lawsuits being another, some crazy enforcement actions being the third. The intent of this is to go to the very same people and go to the FAA and say, you've heard the voice of the lobbyists. Now this is also the pilots to back up that. And so the number of signatures on here kind of gives us a louder voice with the FAA, and that's why it's important that we get the signatures.
So go and sign that petition, please. It's really important. What's the Facebook group again that people can also go to?
It's ADSB Tracked Billing Has Begun.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, Ron, you and I were just talking, explain some of the ramifications for the state of Florida inside of landing fees, which of course is going to increase the cost of flight training, and the broader picture of what could happen to what is a pretty robust industry inside of the state of Florida.
Oh, it is the flight training capital of the world. As most people know, a lot of Europeans come to the United States to fly, and most of them come to Florida. In 2024, of all the FAA pilot certificates issued, the number that I've been given was 20% of all FAA certificates, pilot certificates, were issued through the state of Florida. As for instructors, CFI instrument, and multi-engine instructors, the number is 25%. The figure quoted has been an $8 billion industry, and landing fees will certainly impact that. Why should you come here and train for a flight school that's going to send you on across countries to other airports if this catches on? We've termed this as landing fees as being like a cancer to the state of Florida, and people will move away from it. Texas right now doesn't have very many airports with landing fees. Why not go to Texas? Why not go to Arizona? So if you want to destroy an industry, this is a good way to start.
Right. And my fear is we already seen multiple airports starting to close.
Yes.
You know, they're obviously attacking Everglades pretty bad.
Right.
You know, what is it, XO1?
XO1,
Yeah,
I believe
XO1.
Cedar Key. There's a discussion about Cedar Key as well.
And those are all like amazing airports to visit. You know, if you haven't done it, do it. Make sure if you're renting the aircraft that the owners don't mind you taking it into very short runways. But
Cedar Key is the shortest runway in the state of Florida with a paved runway.
Yeah.
It's a paved runway. So.
But it's beautiful.
It's great. It's great.
And then let's talk about the actual profit share of what this really looks like. Because, Ron, you did some homework on this, right? When this all first came around, share a little bit of that, because I have a little bit of apprehension to believe that the lower number that Kissimmee is supposedly paying could be even remotely correct.
I'm not sure what's going on with that. I went to Vector's site when I first looked into it back in the first part of October, and they had like 9 testimonials on the front page of it, and I started looking at each and every one of them. One of them was up in the Hamptons where the Clintons and the Obamas fly into. It's not even a public airport anymore. It's a private airport. Their landing fees started at $700 for the aircraft and went up. So that's, you know, we're not talking apples and oranges. The second one that Vector touted back then, I don't know what's on their homepage now, was Dallas Fort Love. Again, you know, millions of airline passengers coming in and going through there. They receive funding for enplanements and deplanements and whatnot. Again, that's not anywhere close to what Kissimmee does. So we looked at 85 reliever airports. That's what Kissimmee is considered by FAA definition, or a reliever airport. Of the 85 reliever, only 6 in the entire nation charge landing fees. Most of them are above $6,000 or above $12,500. Kissimmee is the only airport right now in the state of Florida that is charging landing fees to all aircraft below 6,000 pounds. And ours is actually below 5,000 pounds.
Right. And then the profit share was something. At one point, it was you spoke to somebody at one of the airports that said it was a 35% fee.
One of the airports in the New England states, I'd have to go bring my notes from home, but one of the airports I called, the airport operations lady that I spoke with, she quoted me exact figures. This is how much we made in July. This is how much we paid, et cetera, et cetera. And she was saying they were paying $72,000 a year for camera maintenance, and then they were paying Vector 35% of the collected fees. Kissimmee has touted that they're only paying 15%, but we haven't seen exact figures for February and March. So honestly, I don't know what we're paying. I don't know what we collected to date. Yeah.
We'll have to wait until all of that can get out in the public place.
Under the Sunshine Law, we should be able to get that information.
Yeah. Well, I think it's going to completely devastate Kissimmee. From the airport director, when I spoke with him briefly when we were doing when we were all 3 of us were out there for the Orlando executive meeting,
right.
And he said, I have really great plans, and there's going to be an airport, or there's going to be a hotel at the airport, and I'm going to lengthen the runways and widen them, and the taxiways are going to get switched around. I'm like, this certainly sounds like this airport isn't necessarily going to be, the municipal airport much longer if that's the case. It sounded like some pretty grand plans for a much, much larger, executive type of airport. And I still don't see how Kissimmee's going to be able to handle that with the roadway infrastructure down there is a nightmare anyway at times.
No, it's absolutely horrendous. They're building so many new housing units down there. I don't know what the exact number is, but a friend of mine in the real estate industry told me right now there's over 4,000 homes more in Osceola County than there was this time last year on the market for sale.
Right.
I mean, they just went crazy with that. Unfortunately, the road structure hasn't kept up with it. As far as the airports itself concerned, it's in a state of transition. That's very easy to see, and I can't believe that the flight schools, to my knowledge, they've been pretty quiet about the landing fees. I had one particular flight school down there said that no matter what the director wants to do, we're 100% behind him. I said, do you realize that that could impact your business? And we're behind him. So you got people that are not thinking for themselves. They're not looking at the big picture further down the road. I see this becoming more of an executive type airport where most people don't want to fly in and out of. You can spend 40 minutes to get from the ramp to the runway with the jet traffic they have there. And obviously, jets sitting on the ground is burning a whole lot more fuel than your little 172 or your Warrior, you know?
Yeah.
So I see this airport going into a major flux of transition. I see 3 years, 4 years from now, the flight schools will wish that they hadn't gone this route.
Right. And I mean, you are no longer a tenant down there, but Don, you still are a tenant down there
For now, yes.
and you've just seen a massive increase, or your projected
Yes.
huge increase in costs for your hangar, right? And yours
Yeah.
is just a T hangar, correct?
Correct. So I have heard rates are expected to go up. I know we moved into our T hangar about 3 years ago. It was about 300 and 320 a month. We're now just shy of 800 for our T hangar for the Mooney. The other side and interesting part of this is that when we moved in there, it was hard to get a T hangar. Right now, people have just been vacating them left and right, and there are T hangars there, and it's killing the environment because pilots would go and hang out. You know, we talk about this where, hey, let's all go fly for lunch somewhere or whatever. You're not seeing that anymore. One guy that has a hangar next to me, he's doing a build. And he's like, as soon as this is ready to fly out of here, I'm gone. This used to be a fun airport. It's no fun anymore.
Well, that's one of the beautiful things for this airport, right?
Yeah.
I mean, XO4, we have some characters on this airport and some really amazing people. I mean, if I work a little later on a Friday night, I mean, I know Derek's seen it too. You've got one of the hangars over there. It seems like they just have everybody over. And
That's
it's
really
kind of
cool.
I'm like, can I get an invite?
That's what you want. That's what you want. Don's in a T hangar. I had a tie down that went from less than $100 to over $200 overnight. So 100% increase without warning says no. It's not worth it.
But you know, the other side of this that I'm more concerned about is, you know, and to your point, it's going to discourage people coming to Florida for flight training. It's going to elevate the cost of flight training. I think that it's going to have a different result than what they intend for Kissimmee. But I'm more concerned on the bigger picture that so many pilots are finding out about this, and their knee-jerk reaction is, I'm going to turn my ADSB off. And that terrifies me, but I think the threat is real. And there were two recent examples of these happening, the one being the crash in D.C. with the commercial jet and the helicopter. It's now been shown that the helicopter's ADSB out was off. You could argue, had that been on, potentially that could have been avoided. There was another issue in Nevada involving a Civil Air Patrol plane, one of our brethren out there, where a gentleman flying a Swift that was ADSB equipped turned off the ADSB out. He wasn't required to have ADSB in that space, except that the aircraft was said, equipped. And despite radio calls and the pattern, from what I understand, he came in kind of high in the pattern low wing, and there was a Civil Air Patrol plane in the pattern high wing. They didn't see each other and collided. Civil Air Patrol didn't see him on ADSB. So all of that's in the last, 4 or 5 months. Imagine what this is going to be like when a bunch of pilots are like, hey, FAA, you sold me this bill of goods that it would be for safety. We even made the investment at our own expense and overcame our objections about privacy concerns. Will this be used for billing and taxes? And now we're out there finding that, it was bait and switch. So a lot of pilots are going to turn it off, and I think the skies are going to be less safe for all of us. Yeah. So we've got to, get this under control.
Well, let's hope that we can get the attention that's needed, and get people to realize something's got to give. Somebody's got to make a change. Hopefully, Kissimmee will come back to the recommendation that you guys came up with, which was let's make it where it's £12,000 plus and leave the little guys alone. Get rid of Vector, which of course removes $70,000 a year camera fees and losing 15% to 35% of your money and just tax the guys that can really afford it, right? Because that's really what this is. It's a tax.
The other big part of that was that fee that's being paid to Vector could be paid to the two FBOs on the field, which would generate them somewhere in the neighborhood $50,000-$60,000 between the two of them, depending on whether you split it evenly or, whatever aircraft comes to your service, you collect for them and they collect for the others, or they split it evenly. The number is going to be somewhere between $50,000 and $60,000. That's money that should be kept in the city of Kissimmee at the Kissimmee Airport, but instead we're feeding Vector.
Yep. And that would not use ADSB, and it would not penalize light GA. It was a win-win-win across the board. More money, better, pilot-friendly environment, all of that. But the city rejected it. So I won't insert as to why. I have my own opinions, but it doesn't make sense to me.
Right. Well, hopefully we get some answers. Is there anything that either of you would like to say further?
Nope. I think and as time goes on, we'll try to reach out to each one of those city council members on a one-on-one basis and see what their rationale is. I think it'd be an interesting discussion.
Yeah.
I will add, though, that at this time, it's not always clear to know where Vector is charging fees. So we are, as a pilot community, starting to use the comment section in ForeFlight. Make use of that. If you look at Kissimmee's, it's really quite an interesting read, to say the least. And unfortunately, I think at this point, let's say that the city came back and said, we like your idea, we'll go with it. Right now, I think it's safe to say that Kissimmee Airport has one of the worst reputations of any airport in the country. And reeling that back in and recovering the reputation would be a big job. And,
it can take 10 minutes to destroy a reputation and take a lifetime to build
10
it
years
back.
to build it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, even our airport director, he's a lone operator. We've called for, there was a petition to the city asking for an advisory board. It's been refused. So there is no forum for pilots to have input. And I'll even say when we did our public forum, there was probably 70, 75 pilots in there that were all spoken out against this for a number of reasons, but the one that kept resounding around was safety. The one, and I mean one person in favor of this was the airport director, and he said, I realize ADSB was meant for safety, but it makes billing easier. So the voice of the one was supported in opposition to the voice of the 70 to pass this. So it's unfortunate, and especially the safety element, but yeah.
Well, it's, both of you are always welcome back on. Ron, actually, I would really love to have you back on to talk more about the dual rated, fixed wing and rotor.
Sure.
And some of the history for you with that as well. So we will do another episode with you on that. That'd be amazing.
I appreciate the invite.
Don pretty much always wants to come up and see me. So, as long as I've got cookies baking, he's
Hey, there you go.
Okay.
My Mooney needs to come up more.
The Mooney needs to breathe and stretch his legs.
Yes.
One last plug, if you don't mind, is if you get a chance to go out and do a Google search for change.org and look for the petition calling on the FAA to halt the use of ADSB for billing. That is probably the number one takeaway, is let's get those signatures, and that's how you find the petition.
And Derek will put the QR code somewhere around here, and also in the a link in the description as well.
Beautiful.
Thanks very much. Take care and stay safe, everyone.